Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus by Zachary K. Hubbard. Read, recorded, and edited by John Loth. And we're picking up back on page 18, the top of page 18. Regarding the number 137, there are a few things you should know. For starters, government sums to 137 with reverse simple English gematria, as does White House and authority sums to 137 with simple English gematria, as does morals and dogma. The Masonic text authored by Albert Pike that we referenced earlier, that pays tribute to Freemasonry being based in Kabbalah. Furthermore, 137 is the 33rd prime number, and all of the following words have Pythagorean gematria of 33. As we decode, keep in mind George Washington was a 33rd degree Freemason, who now has a 333-foot Masonic memorial built in his honor in Alexandria, Virginia, not to mention the House of the Temple, the Scottish Rite headquarters in Washington, D.C., has 33 columns on the outside that are each 33 feet tall, and not by accident. Masonry, federal, secrecy, order all sum to 33. To give you a recent example of how the numbers 33 and 137 come together in ritual, or what I often refer to as number games, consider the story of 33-year-old Naya Rivera's dead body being recovered in a lake on July 13, 2020, a date that can be expressed as 13/7, like 137. Furthermore, she was a star of the hit TV show Glee, and 7 years earlier, in the 7th month, July, the first member of the hit TV show was found dead, a young man named Corey Monteith, on July 13, 2013. Even further, when Rivera's body was discovered, it made her the third member of the show to tragically die young, factoring in with her age of demise, 33. Also factoring in, she had starred in the 33rd episode of the show Devious Maids that aired July 13, 2015, where she dies in the episode, and she had also starred in the 2014 film At the Devil's Door, where she wears a red sweater with, of course, the number 33 on it. In light of the title of the film, it is important to remember that where she drowned, Lake Piru, is a name related to the word devil. That is because in Finnish, Piru is a word for devil. Next, for a relevant history lesson on the Illuminati, George Washington penned a letter to a man named William Russell, September 28, 1798, expressing his concerns about the Illuminati and their plans to overturn all religion and government through the means of conspiracy. Regarding conspiracy, the Illuminati was established by Adam Weishaupt on May 1st for this very reason. Notice the value of his name in light of conspiracy, and even the stereotypical insult for truth seekers that is so often tinfoil hat, using Pythagorean gematria for each. Adam 10, Weishaupt 41, conspiracy equals 51, and tinfoil hat equals 51. As you can gather, they all sum to 51, much like the date May 1st, or 5-1. If you're like me, the number 5-1 should remind you of the well-known location that is often associated with conspiracy, Area 51. And speaking of Area 51, for those who contend Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing there, you should know that the word moon sums to 51, with reverse simple English. It was for this reason SpaceX reportedly launched the first private rocket to dock at the International Space Station May 30th, 2020, 51 days before the 51st anniversary of the moon landing. Keep in mind, that launch was scheduled for 3:22 Eastern Standard Time, and Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, died November 18, 1830, the 322nd day of the year. An infamous number we will learn more about later in relation to Skull and Bones, an offshoot of the Bavarian Illuminati. The number 51 also connects to the riddle of Naya Rivera a name equating to 51 with Pythagorean, the same as Lake Piru with reverse Pythagorean, as well as the words "just the two of us" with Pythagorean, the latter being the words she left on her final social media post on Instagram just before her reported drowning, that we will discuss in even greater detail in the chapters ahead. So no doubt the next time someone throws the programmed stereotype at you tinfoil hat, or mocks you for referencing the Illuminati, you'll have some gems to drop on them. And don't be surprised if that often regurgitated insult is hurled at you for sharing the incredible knowledge of Gematria. Should you experience this treatment from anyone, remember this language is for people with wisdom, something that most people don't have, and are seemingly incapable of, almost as if they are under a spell, very possibly because of the lifelong programming they've been subjected to through popular media, most of which is produced by the cabal. In other words, you are blessed, so know that, truly. Back on the subject of the United States capital city, it should be noted that prior to the cornerstone being laid, Washington was first recognized as a territory on July 16, 1790, a date with numerology of 130, corresponding perfectly with the simple English gematria of Washington, also summing to 130. Furthermore, the July 16th date of establishment was 144 days after George Washington's February 22, 1790 birthday. This matters because the United States of America sums to 144 with reverse Pythagorean gematria. The name also sums to 261 with simple English gematria, and the date the cornerstone was laid, September 18, 1793, was the 261st day of the year. It is also for this reason that the US dollar bill is 2.61 inches tall. Even further, if you use Pythagorean gematria, the name the United States of America sums to 99, and the United States of America was named as such on September 9th, 1776. Emphasis on 99. To take it further, the nation began with 13 colonies that are represented in the 13 stripes of the U.S. flag, and if you write out 13, it has a simple English value of 99. This connects to the fact that the Bavarian Illuminati was established with 13 families on a date with 99 numerology, May 1st, 1776. Furthermore, from their establishment to the naming of United States of America, September 9th, 1776, was a span of 132 days, not unlike the number of rooms in the White House. The distance of 132 days matters because the United States of America sums to 132 with reverse Pythagorean gematria, when you leave the out. For another 132, Catholic Church equates with simple English. And for another parallel to the Church, the date the cornerstone was laid, September 18th, leaves 104 days in the year, and Roman Catholic Church equates to 104 with reverse Pythagorean, similar to how 7/4/1776 has 104 numerology, as follows. 7 plus 4 plus 17 plus 76 equals 104. Thus, it is another reminder all roads do lead to Rome and the Church. Now let us practice decoding. You will notice that if you leave the out, United States of America sums to 84 with Pythagorean gematria. In light of the naming of the country being well coordinated with the establishment of the Bavarian Illuminati that was founded by Adam Weishaupt, a trained Jesuit and operative of the Catholic Church, it should come as no surprise that Jesuit sums to 84 using simple English, and the title of the Jesuit leader Superior General sums to 84 using Pythagorean. Furthermore, if you write the Catholic Church, it sums to 84 in Pythagorean, and the Jesuit order sums to 84 using reverse Pythagorean. If you've read George Orwell's 1984, you might be starting to understand why he chose the year for the title of his novel. And if you've seen the film based on the book, you're very familiar with the red and black color theme. They are colors of the Jesuits, and this same color scheme is used in another important and related film that is based in a 1984 setting, V for Vendetta, where the main character wears a Guy Fawkes mask, and Guy Fawkes was a Jesuit. As a heads up, the number 84 is one that will come up repetitively in the chapters ahead regarding the Jesuits, and will surely be one to continue to come up as time goes on. Case in point, as I am finishing this book, it has been reported on May 20th, 2020, that the former Jesuit Superior General has died at age 84. To understand why he died on the date he did, look no further than the fact that May 20th leaves 225 days in the year, and his birth name, Adolfo Niklas, sums to 225 with reverse simple English gematria. Even more, he died on the 191st day of the current Superior General's age, Arturo Sosa, who was born November 12, 1948, and Society of Jesus sums to 191, using simple English gematria. If you're not aware, the official name of the Jesuit order is the Society of Jesus. As for Sosa being 71 years old, at the time of Nicholas's death, that ties in perfectly with the next point that needs to be made about the history of Washington, D.C., and its significant dates. On February 21st, 1871, Washington, D.C. became an independent city-state with the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. The act merged the town of Washington and the Jesuit territory of Georgetown into one self-governing territory. This was done as a means to invite international investment, due to the territory becoming impoverished and some areas being in ruins as a direct result of the U.S. Civil War that had recently concluded and largely bankrupted the nation. The year 71 matters because Catholic sums to 71 using simple English gematria, and the date February 21 or 221 matters because the Bavarian Illuminati sums to 221 using the same cipher. At the same time, the Jesuit motto, Jesus, Savior of Men, equates to 221 with reverse simple English. And once again, the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. What is even more hidden is the Gematria of District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871, summing to 201 in reverse Pythagorean, similar to how the Jesuit order equates 201 with reverse simple English. Another very special number to the organization that we will take apart in Chapter 4, when we dissect Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation of October 18, 2019, that again took place on the same day the Military World Games began in Wuhan, China, a festival with origins in Rome, like the Catholic Church and Jesuits. For now, you can know the following about the number in relation to the Jesuits, and that is, the Jesuits were reportedly saved by Catherine the Great, who preserved the Jesuit order by defying Pope Clement XIII, who ordered the Jesuits to be suppressed on July 21st, 1773. And they were, except for the 201 that were protected by Catherine, the leader of Russia at the time. This number becomes all the more fascinating when you recognize that Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, is also the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. A stat pairing perfectly with his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equating to 201 with simple English. The same as Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, as well as the name Domus Sanctae Marthae, the official name of the Suite 201. The official name of Suite 201. I should also note that Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit, eventually changed the name of the Bavarian Illuminati to Order of Illuminati, equating to 201 with simple English, reminding us of Inauguration Day, or 20/1. Another important fact about the date of the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871, February 21st, is that it is the 52nd day of the year. With regards to 52, the head of the Catholic Church is the Pope, And not by chance, the title sums to 52 using simple English gematria, same as the phrase the Cabal. Their mission is to rule over Earth, a name also summing to 52 in simple English, and a number pairing with the number of weeks in a year, 52, and the number of cards in a deck, 52. For a few more relevant terms equating to 52, government and White House sum to 52 using Pythagorean gematria, and authority and president equate using the reverse Pythagorean cipher. Just wait until we get to Donald Trump's role in the Cabal's schemes, the man who attended Fordham University, a Jesuit school, in 1964, 52 years before becoming president-elect, and 56 years before the coronavirus outbreak. I bring up the part about 56 years because it is a number you will become very familiar with in Chapter 4. For now, you can know that Washington, D.C., Society of Jesus, and coronavirus each equate to 56 in Pythagorean gematria. You can also know that when we get to Chapter 18, about how George Perry Floyd fits in with the Cabal's agenda, a name summing to 201 with simple English gematria. We'll break down the changing of Washington, D.C.'s 16th Street to Black Lives Matter Plaza on June 5, 2020, in tribute to George Floyd, a date that can be expressed as 5/6, similar to the number 56, and reminding us that the Civil Rights Act of 64 came 56 years earlier, and Black Lives Matter sums to 56 using Pythagorean gematria. Moving on to the third city-state, the City of London, its origins are so old the date of establishment has been lost to time. Its autonomy came, however, with the Tonnage Act that established the Bank of England and respective territory as an independent entity, July 27, 1694. The Tonnage Act, also known as the Bank of England Act 1694, made the bank and territory an independent corporation, thus why the City of London is also commonly referred to as the City of London Corporation. In light of this fact, notice how the numerology of the date of establishment corresponds with simple English gematria of corporation, summing to 144. And then it gives the date. 7/27/1964 equals 144, and corporation equals 144. A moment earlier, we covered how the United States of America has gematria of 144, and that Washington, D.C. was established 144 days after George Washington's birthday. This is a number relevant to the Jesuit order as well, summing to 144 with simple English gematria. And it reminds us that Donald Trump, Jesuit educated, posed with Pope Francis at the Vatican, May 24, 2017, the 144th day of the year. Jesuit Order 144. Adding relevance to the number 144, Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuit order, would often conclude his letters with the phrase, "Go forth and set the world on fire." That's not a good look. If you take the time to apply the code, you'll notice that in Pythagorean gematria that phrase sums to 144 as well. And in light of the Jesuits operating on behalf of the Catholic Church, it is important to know that the nation of England has been under Catholic control since the Treaty of 1213, when King John pledged England and Ireland to the papacy. This was agreed to on October 3, 1213, a date with 38 and 26 numerology, connecting both parties involved. King John sums to 38 with reverse Pythagorean, and papacy equates to 26 with Pythagorean. As a reminder, 26 is the number associated with God, as well as crusade, and this historical event, the Treaty of 1213, wasn't long after the Catholic Church came into possession of the code, after the Knights Templar returned with it from the Crusades. Going back to the date of July 27th, the date of the Tonnage Act, it is written 27/7 in the United Kingdom, much like 277. The number 277 is the 59th prime number, and this matters because London, England sums to 59 in Pythagorean gematria, whereas Freemasonry sums to 59 with reverse Pythagorean. Consider modern Freemasonry was established in the City of London in the year 1717, and the number 59 is the 17th prime. Furthermore, the United States of America declared its independence from England in 1776, 59 years later, and Independence Day sums to 277 with reverse simple English. For another point, the word Mason sums to 17 in Pythagorean gematria, tying in perfectly with the year 1717, the establishment of modern Freemasonry. Also relevant to the discussion is the fact that from the Jesuits being recognized by Rome in 1540 to the establishment of modern Freemasonry in 1717 is 177 years later, and where the Jesuit order equates 177 with simple English, New World Order equates to 177 with reverse simple. What is essential to understand is modern Freemasonry claims its roots in the Knights Templar, who serve the Catholic Church, same as the Jesuits. Even further, there are many Freemasons who are also Jesuits, as well as being members of other Masonic orders. As we will come to understand, there is a thin line between these secret societies that is most clearly seen in Washington, D.C. This is because it was once the Catholic colony known as Rome on the Potomac, and controlled by the Jesuits, but is now known as the Masonic City, named after the Freemason George Washington. Even with the newer name, Washington, it still has a heavy Jesuit presence due to Georgetown University, the first Jesuit university established in the United States by John Carroll when he was 54 years of age on January 23, 1789. It matters that he was 54, born January 8, 1735, because John Carroll and Jesuit order both equate to 54 in Pythagorean gematria. Furthermore, the number 54 is symbolic in terms of time. This is because we're on the Gregorian calendar, a solar calendar, and the word sun sums to 54 in simple English gematria. If you are not aware of the Jesuit logo, it is the sun with the letters IHS inside, as well as the cross and 3 nails, the latter symbolizing those used in the crucifixion of God's Son, Jesus Christ. And for the record, January 23, 1789 was a date with numerology of 49 and 130, both connecting to the gematria of Washington, as well as a date with 113 numerology, connecting to the value of Scottish, summing to 49 and 113. Consider further, both Georgetown and Scottish Rite sum to 57 using Pythagorean, and George Washington, the Freemason, having a first name equating to 57 with simple English, would turn 57 years old February 22, 1789, days later, just before becoming the first recognized president of the United States, April 30th, 1789. I'll add that Washington's inauguration date had numerology of 140, connecting to Washington with reverse simple English, and numerology of 32, connecting with Scottish Rite and the Jesuits, as well as America. We'll touch on 32 just ahead. Just ahead there, man. We'll touch on that just ahead. I don't know why I slipped into Scottish accent or English, whatever. We'll touch on 32 just ahead. For more relevance to number 57, 4 of the first 6 U.S. presidents were inaugurated at that age, and in light of the nickname of the capital city, Rome on the Potomac, it should be noted that Rome sums to 57 with reverse simple English. As for the 4 U.S. presidents to be inaugurated at age 57, they were George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and John Quincy Adams. And for a final point about Georgetown's establishment and how it pays tribute to the Jesuits as well as the Scottish Rite, the date January 23rd can be written 23/1, similar to 231. I don't know why I read it like that. Similar to 231, the 21st triangular number. This matters because the word Jesuit sums to 21 with Pythagorean and 42 with reverse Pythagorean. just the same as how Georgetown equates 242 with reverse Pythagorean, connecting back to the Vatican being established on the 42nd day of the Gregorian year. To further illustrate the relationship between the Jesuits and Scottish Rite, the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite shares a motto with Jesuits, in Latin, ad majorem Dei gloriam. In light of it being the 32nd degree, keep in mind there are 32 sun rays in the Jesuit logo, and using Pythagorean gematria, Scottish sums to 32 as does America. The nation established on July 4th, 1776, a date with numerology of 32. In the same cipher, Christ also sums to 32, reminding us that we're talking about the Society of Jesus. To take it further, the Latin motto ad majorem Dei gloriam sums to 115 using reverse Pythagorean, similar to how Masonic and France sum to 115 with reverse Simple English, also spelled ad majorem Dei gloriam. I might not be pronouncing those right. The reason France matters is because the Jesuits were formed in France, and the Scottish Rite came to power there, the same nation where many of the Masonic founders of the United States of America studied. If you're up for a TV show, take the time to watch Nightfall, set in France. It is focused on the Knights Templars' fallout with the Catholic Church, at a time when Pope Boniface VIII was focused on making all kings and queens of Europe bow the knee to the Roman Catholic Empire. You'll get a kick out of the mention of 65 Knights Templar orders in Europe in Episode 6, knowing that Knights Templar and Christianity sum to 65 in Pythagorean gematria. And to be a member of the Knights Templar, you must be Christian. Coming back to the Latin phrase, ad majorem Dei gloriam, it means for the greater glory of God. The translated phrase sums to 351 with reverse Simple English, the 26th triangular number, bringing us back to the Simple English gematria of God, summing to 26. And on this subject, let us now appreciate how the Council of Nicaea, in the year 325, that was held by the Catholic Church to bring about how to worship the offspring of God, factors in. To make a long story short, the Church, who had brought many pagans under its rulership, was having trouble with people worshiping the sun in the sky instead of worshiping the Son of the virgin birth, who died on the cross for man's sins. And this was a problem they wanted remedied. Following the trail of the Catholic Church giving birth to the Knights Templar, and the Knights Templar being the roots of modern Freemasonry, and that you must believe in God, or G-D, to be a Freemason, and Catholicism worshiping the Son of God, established and made in the year 325. It makes sense that Scottish Rite of Freemasonry sums to 325, using Simple English gematria. At the same time, City of London Corporation sums to 325 with reverse Simple English gematria. And it, too, is under Jesuit and Freemason control, meaning ultimately it is under Catholic control. Ahead in Chapter 3, we will uncover what happened on March 25, 2020, or 325, while the Bank of England was 325 years old, the heart of the City of London Corporation. It will connect continents and many loose ends not yet tied. To finish our introduction to gematria, the language of the Cabal, let us take a moment to think about the flag of the city-state, Washington, D.C. On it are 3 stars that symbolize the unholy Trinity. That is the Vatican, the City of London, and D.C. itself. With that in mind, we'll now decode the word Trinity using reverse Simple English and reverse Pythagorean. You will notice the word sums to 74 as well as 47. Trinity, 74, Trinity, 47, in simple and in reverse. At this point, we have connected how the numbers 74 and 47 correspond with each of the 3 city-states, and we have learned the mathematical relationships between the digits 7 and 4. One thing that has not been stated yet is the numerology of 74 and 47 equates to 11. 74 is 7 plus 4 equals 11, and 47 is 4 plus 7 equals 11. what is known as the master number. This is because the digit 1 is the only number that divides into all numbers, corresponding with the belief that God is in all things, and God is the measure of all things. The number 11 is also the first rep digit, meaning a number that is made up of the same repeating number, 1 1, 2 2 2, 3 3 3 3 3, 4 4 4 4 4 4, etc. Plus, in numerology terms, when you repeat a number, you magnify its power. With that in mind, I want you to pay mind to the plethora of 47s encoded in these key words that pertain to Washington, D.C., arguably the most powerful city in the world, that once again had its cornerstone laid September 18, 1793, a date with numerology of 38, 47, and 137, all numbers summing to 11 in numerology terms. And then DC sums to 47 in reverse simple, government to 47 in Pythagorean, reverse Pythagorean, authority 47 in Pythagorean, president 47 in Pythagorean, Trump 47 in simple English, Caesar or Kaiser 47 in simple English, White House 47 in reverse Pythagorean, Republican 47 in Pythagorean, Whig, what the Democrats were before they became the Democrats, simple English, and that equals 47, and Democrats equals 47 in reverse Pythagorean. For a few more examples, it is not an accident that Donald Trump was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel the night of the rigged selection, and it's not an accident Obama became president at age 47, alongside the 47th Vice President Joe Biden, who was at the center of the Ukraine investigation. Pure theater. A nation summing to 47 with reverse Pythagorean. It's also not an accident that Abraham Lincoln said 7 years ago, or that the United States birthday can be written 47. Speaking of which, the Masonic compass and square used by the Scottish Rite out of France, a nation summing to 47 with simple English, is set at 47 degrees, in tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid, otherwise known as the Pythagorean theorem. It is wise to note, Pythagoras is considered by some to be the first Freemason, and the name Pythagoras equates with Washington in all 4 base ciphers, a perfect match. Try your skills out and see for yourself. Other words having logical relationships and perfect matches are plentiful. Try witch and broom, judge and gavel. Speaking of which, the latter two sum to 47, using simple English, and not by chance. Trump's first picked Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, that's how it's written, Gorsuch. I'm going to say it Gorsuch. These people don't deserve to have their name pronounced properly anyways. Neil Gorsuch was confirmed on April 7, 2017. Emphasis on 47. As for the 47th problem of Euclid, it symbolizes how to establish a perfectly square foundation, a word summing to 47 with Pythagorean gematria. This pairs well with the fact that L'Enfant, the French Freemason, laid out D.C., the land of 47, where the Washington Monument's cornerstone was also laid, on July 4th. In case you're reading this and seeing the connections and saying things such as, "So what?" or "What is the value of knowing this?" I want to say 2 things. 1, you've been missing out for years, and 2, you will. Case in point, Monday Night Football, November 11th, 2019, the Seattle Seahawks of Washington State were at the San Francisco 49ers as big underdogs on the 100-y, yo. It was on the 100-y birthday, on the 130th birthday of Washington State. Not by chance, the Seahawks coach, Pete Carroll, was going for his 130th regular season win and his 140th win including the postseason, corresponding with the gematria of Washington summing to 130 and 140, and sure enough, he got them, paying those who took the Seahawks to win more than triple their money. I don't mean to promote gambling, but what I do promote is awareness of how the show is being scripted and who is responsible, and how in the world of sports you can prove it every single day. Of course, American football is credited to Walter Camp, the Scottish Rite Freemason, and it is no accident the NFL had its first Super Bowl in its 47th season. It was foundational. To say a few more things about 47, the reflection of 74, the number we started with, in Hebrew the word Elohim sums to 47. This is a common name for God of the Old Testament. This factors in with how the name God can be written G-D, the seventh letter and the fourth, as was mentioned earlier. The Cabal is playing God with this knowledge, and not by chance the title The Cabal sums to 47 with reverse Pythagorean. It is for this reason the 33rd President Harry S. Truman, who became a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason October 9, 1945, was used to pass the National Security Act of 1947 that went into effect on September 18th, the anniversary of the cornerstone being laid for the city of Washington, D.C., a date that has much to do with the Roman Catholic Church. Prior to being enacted, it was introduced in the Senate, a Roman concept, on March 3rd, or 3-3, and it was signed into law by Harry S. Truman on July 26th, the day leaving 158 days left in the year. Truman's signing date matters because the word Freemasonry sums to 158 with reverse simple English, and the date August 15th, or 15/8, is the date the Jesuits were founded in France in 1534, before being officially recognized by Rome September 27th, 1540. This act created the NSA and the CIA, things that have been used to both spy on the public and steer the public in the interests of the Cabal, who control the nation by the code, and no doubt these agencies. Speaking of which, if you've never seen the film The Truman Show, you must. It's about a man who has every inch of his life secretly tracked and recorded for the sake of being broadcast on a reality TV show, without him ever knowing about any of it. Of course, the Cabal also controls Hollywood, summing to 33 with reverse Pythagorean gematria. And if you didn't know, Hollywood is a reference to the wood of holly trees that have been historically used by druids to make wands for magic spells. And again, spelling is the word and the name of the game. For your learning, I must mention Truman's birthday, May 8, 1884, emphasis on 5/8, as well as the year 84. Using Pythagorean gematria, Freemasonry, Secret Society, and Solomon's Temple each equate to 58. Of course, Freemasonry is a secret society, and most of its secrets are in legends of Solomon's Temple. It is for this reason that Donald Trump announced from his 58-storied Trump Tower that he was running for U.S. President in the 58th U.S. presidential election. The significance of the number is also why he hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day, and it connects to why Hillary Clinton wrote the book What Happened, summing to 58 with Pythagorean gematria, about why she lost the election. Regarding Hillary, keep in mind Freemasonry is a fraternity for men, and when you apply reverse Pythagorean gematria, you'll notice the word fraternal sums to 58 as well. One question we have not yet fully answered is, why go through all this trouble of mathematical calculation and date planning, and name and word coordinating? As covered, this code is associated with God's way of operating, as it is taught in Kabbalah. Furthermore, there is another important set of occult teachings that the secret societies, including the Cabal, are heavily invested in, and that is Hermeticism. It has 7 sacred principles. The third is vibration, summing to 47, with Pythagorean gematria. This principle expresses that everything, including every number, every letter, every word, every color, every smell, and every sound, etc., carries a vibration. and these vibrations have consequences that influence the world. Thus, if you can harness these energies and use them strategically, you can influence outcomes, something that the Cabal is heavily interested in. Keep in mind the word energy sums to 74 in simple English. Gematria, same as weapon and nuclear. I'd read that so badly. Keep in mind the word energy sums to 74 in simple English gematria, same as weapon and nuclear. This pairs well with the Trinity test, where Trinity sums to 74 and 47, the first nuclear test taking place in the 47th state, New Mexico. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how this event, part of the Manhattan Project, pairs with the World Trade Center's falling on the 74th meridian west in Manhattan, and the site of 9/11 being called Ground Zero, a term that is used to describe the point above or below ground where an atomic or nuclear weapon explodes. Another event from recent history, also tying in, was the massive earthquake in Southern California on July 4, 2019, or 7/4, just days before the 74-year anniversary of the Trinity test that took place July 16, 1945. This earthquake's epicenter was located on a military base, and not coincidentally, and much like 9/11, it created a sense of fear, and that is the energy and vibration the Cabal specializes in, pumping it 24/7, 365 for the sake of control. For another 74, the word tarot sums to 74 using simple English, as in tarot cards. And ahead you'll learn much about them, including the 19th card of the tarot deck, the Sun card, and what the Gregorian calendar, a solar calendar, has to do with 19-year cycles. It has everything to do with why September 11th happened in 2001, blamed on 19 hijackers, and why the COVID-19 pandemic happened in 2020, 19 years later. In Chapter 18, we'll bring together George Floyd, who yelled, "I can't breathe," summing to 74 with reverse Pythagorean, and why it was reported an officer kneeled on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in the Twin Cities, not unlike how the first plane hit the Twin Towers at 8:46 a.m. on September 11, 2001. George Floyd's killing happened in Gemini as well, the astrological sign known as the Twins. And as we'll get to, it was no accident that they scheduled the pretrial for his murder for September 11, 2020, the 19-year anniversary of the infamous day, especially when the surname Floyd sums to 19 with reverse Pythagorean. On the subject of 9/11, you're likely aware that 3 buildings fell that day, and it was referred to as the New Pearl Harbor. Those buildings were numbered 1, 2, and 7, similar to the date of Pearl Harbor, December 7th, or 12/7, much like 127. Corresponding with the reverse simple English gematria of Ground Zero, summing to 127 or 127. The third building to fall, Building 7, was 47 floors tall, and each floor had 47,000 square feet of space. Adding insult to injury, it was known as the Solomon Brothers Building, not too far off from Solomon's Temple, and the name Solomon Brothers sums to 211, the 47th prime. Keep in mind, the demise of the World Trade Center was blamed on Osama bin Laden, who was referred to as the Cave Dweller by President George W. Bush. Not by chance, both his name and his nickname sum to 47 using Pythagorean gematria. And trust me, that's just where the riddles begin that we will dive into much deeper into the next chapter. And with regards to these very clear patterns, when you have a moment, I would encourage you to look into the BBC summing to 74 with reverse simple English, reporting that Building 7 had fallen well before it began to collapse. If you have forgotten, Building 7 collapsed several hours after the Twin Towers, and it was not hit by a plane, becoming only the third steel-framed building to ever collapse from a fire in history, all 3 of which collapsed on September 11, 2001, in what is arguably the most obvious lie ever told. On the subject of 9/11, and introducing this knowledge to you, I would be amiss to skip the dancing Israelis, who were arrested in New Jersey, a state summing to 47 with reverse Pythagorean, on the day of September 11th, 2001, for celebrating the attacks. They were then sent back to Israel, the nation that was recognized as a nation by the United Nations, November 29th, 1947, where they went on live television and admitted that they were in the U.S. to document the events of 9/11, meaning they had foreknowledge. Keep in mind, Brooklyn, New York, a neighbor of Manhattan, sums to 74 with reverse Pythagorean, and I bring this up because it is the most Jewish neighborhood in the world, outside of Israel. In my first book, Letters and Numbers, teaching about the Gematria of the English language, as well as 9/11 and the dancing Israelis, as those subjects have never been taught before, and was banned March 15th, 2019, the 74th day of the year, by Etsy, a Jewish-owned company out of Brooklyn, without reason, despite having all positive reviews and hundreds of reviews and over 10,000 sales. When we get to the chapter on Jesuits, we'll discuss their Jewish origin, like Gematria. We'll also expose Anthony Fauci, head of the NIH since 1984, the Jesuit from Brooklyn, who said on January 10th, 2017 at Georgetown, a pandemic was coming for the Trump administration in very specific terms. To close, there is one last thing you must know about the number 47. It is the word time sums to 47 with simple English gematria. Consider the Tropic of Cancer is at 23.5 degrees north, and the Tropic of Capricorn is at 23 degrees. And the Tropic of Capricorn is at 23.5 degrees south, thus separated by 47 degrees. And they are used to measure time and the respective solstices of the northern and southern hemispheres. Thus the tropics measure the sun. As you will come to understand, this is what it's all about for the cabal. Using the code to control humanity and control time as we know it. This includes controlling what we know about the past, present, and future. To quote George Orwell's 1984, who controls the past controls the future, and who controls the present controls the past. All right, that's end of chapter 1, part 2. The next is chapter 2. 1968, the year of coronavirus and the 9/11 master plan. And that starts on page 33. Ooh, spoopy. All right. Thank you for having a look and a listen. And until next time, stay tuned